Hello everyone, welcome to Timeless Flux. My name is Sabine and this video is going to be the first of a series in tarot and occupations. This video is dedicated to those of you out there who are teachers, educators, okay? And it's important to remember these are general readings, so make them fit your situation. If something does not resonate, then the message is not for you. It's also a timeless video, so whenever you come across this particular reading, it's meant for you. Okay, so I am going to present you with three options here. Option number one is represented by Osho Zen Tarot. Option number two is represented by the Everyday Witch Tarot deck. And option number three is represented by the La Santa Muerte deck. So take your time to focus on each deck and think about which calls your attention the most. I'm actually going to use all three of them in all of the three readings, but I will let your intuition decide which of the readings is meant for you. So option number one, option number two, option number three. And if you're ready, all my teachers and educators out there, I'm going to start with the reading for option number one. Okay, so option number one, if you have selected the option represented by Osho Zen Tarot, I see here that you've actually started teaching because you had a different view on knowledge. You see knowledge as something that cannot be measured, cannot be controlled, in the sense of when we're learning, when we're not actually learning. You seem to think like we're learning all the time. Learning is an ongoing process. So you're not the kind of teacher that focuses on hierarchies between teachers and students. You don't feel like you have to know it all. You don't feel like you have to know everything that's related to the subject matter you're working with. And even more than that, you really went all in for this occupation because you wanted to always be learning. Okay, so you're my teacher learner. You could even think that whenever people say we're going to talk about the teaching learning process, that this hyphenated word teaching learning does not really represent what learning is all about, because it's actually an ongoing process. It doesn't matter if you're working for a school, a course, or if you're kind of more of an entrepreneur trying to teach. Even I see that some of you could be trying to teach contents that are not very traditional too, but it doesn't matter if you're on your own and if you are working for with private students, for example, or if you're actually a part of a school community. I see that you have a completely different view on knowledge. Knowledge for you is an adventure to be taken seriously, but not without fun. I also see here that having fun while teaching and while preparing your lesson plans, whatever you're meant to share with your students, it's very important for you, because you're kind of think of a comedian who considers that if he's not laughing of his own jokes, who is ever going to laugh at them? Okay, so it's something like that, metaphorically speaking, but related to the way you envision lesson planning and lesson negotiating with your students, because you feel like if it's not an adventure for me, if it's not interesting for me, if it's not something I would actually like to do, considering classroom tasks, for example, how is it ever going to be interesting and enticing for my students? Okay, so this is a lovely way to understand the educational process. Okay, and then now let's see what the tarot is going to actually say. Okay, I see that you've been experiencing some difficult times, but they seem to be over right now. And then I'm here to confirm, if you're looking for confirmation, that they are actually over. Because in this period of time, whenever you've decided to watch this reading, it's like your talents are especially important. Whatever makes you you, so this different way of understanding the learning process, less traditional way, whatever makes you you, and even talents with technology, for example, they are all very useful right now in a way that was not true in the past. Okay, in the past, you may have sometimes felt like your talents were being overlooked, or the educational system, the expectations of the students did not allow you to express your full self. And now I see you here with the Sun card, not only fully expressing yourself, but making it a priority, okay? Whatever is going on contextually in the place where you work, it's allowing you to show the best version of yourself and to make it actually useful, so you're very happy. Sorry. With this Five of Cups in reverse here, I see that you have actually reached this point because you stopped crying over spilt milk. You see in this card here, we have this witch crying over the 3 cups that have been spilled, but she still has 2 cups here on this table, and it's kind of a party, birthday party, and she's not looking at them. Okay, so with this card in reverse, I see that you came a long way coping with past failure, coping with all kinds of limitations. Also because I have the the 8 of Swords in reverse here. So this card normally represents someone who is mind trapped, and whichever mind trap they're dealing with, it's something that they have normally generated themselves. So of course, I'm not saying that it's about people who have no reason to suffer, who have no reason to be mentally suffering. They actually do have, but the way they're facing whatever is blocking their way, it's kind of self-imposed, in the sense that they are not looking beyond this circle of swords here, okay? And they are suffering because of that. This woman could easily untie herself, but there's some kind of sorrow, heartbreak that has become a mental pattern, and now makes it difficult for her to leave this imprisonment of the mind, okay? This is in reverse. So what I see here is that in the past, you could have probably been in this situation here, or even in this situation here in which you're constantly reviewing past failure. I see that for some of you, it could have been like being misunderstood in the way you propose your lesson plans, your classes, your view of the educational system might have been taken, the wrong way by the people that you work with, but now you're leaving this kind of energy because you are actually flourishing. You're actually being able to collaborate with other people. And your special talents, whatever makes you unique, whatever people call out and say, okay, they're a good teacher because of this, and that, these specific traits you have, they are actually having an opportunity of being used right now and being recognized right now. Okay, so let's see what else Tarot has to tell you about your current placement as a teacher. Okay, I see that the place where you're working right now is not necessarily something that you would have chosen with your heart, okay? It's not your first option. This is a place in which decisions are made maybe more commercially, maybe more considering whatever is going to bring financial stability for the institution. And because of that, it was never your first choice, because it really doesn't resonate. It really doesn't align with the kind of educator you want to be. If you're working for yourself, I don't see that many in this group are working by themselves, okay, trying to establish their own companies and their own educational projects. But if you are, this could be like 1% of you watching this video. I see that you have chosen a path that's not the path you would have liked the most, but you really had to do that because otherwise it would be very hard for you to get money out of that and to fend for yourself, okay? So, but for most of you, I see that you're working with institutions for which material concerns can sometimes block educational innovation. So this is not your cup of tea. It would not have been your first choice, but right now, and with the Emperor's kind of confirming the Sun energy here and giving me more detail about what you're doing right now, it's like, you know, you have to stay at this place for a certain time, maybe till you're able to study more, maybe till you're able to save some money in order to have your own educational endeavor the way you'd like it to be. But for the time being, you're learning how to, you know, listen to everyone involved in making this place work, this place function, and just learning how to get whatever you need, specifically for your classroom. Even if you can change the whole system this place is proposing, you can at least focus on getting the necessary resources or the necessary freedom you need to work your own classroom and with your students the way you would like to. Okay, so you see, like, this is not the perfect place for you to be, but it's still giving you something, because it's guaranteeing some kind of financial abundance, and it's necessary at this point in time. And you have also learned how to cope with other people's expectations in a way that does not interfere with whatever you want to do in your classroom. Okay, so with the chakra cards, I have victim, rejection, and faith. This is, I think it's a very important message for you, option 1, because what they're saying here is that when you were feeling down, when you were feeling not recognized, and when you're kind of, I even see most of you annoyed, irritated, because there were people around you who couldn't really understand your view on the educational process and how the educational process should be your beliefs. You know, I think you've gotten some fire, some heat out of these people. Okay, when you were feeling like that, you have acquired kind of a victim mentality. But what they're saying here with victim upright and rejection in reverse, they're saying that this was not about victimizing yourself, because you could clearly understand that rejection of your methods, of your beliefs, was not coming at you from a place of it was not a rejection of you. It was something that was much more systemic, something that was very hard to change, and then that you probably cannot change alone. You know, you started seeing this as a social problem and not something that was strictly related to you or to the way you did things in the classroom. So this is not about victimization, but of course, when we are actually victimized, even if we are not victimizing ourselves, but when we're actually victimized by the makings of a social system, there are some characteristics, some characteristics of judgment, some characteristics of sorrow, some characteristics, most of all, that are related to a lack in faith, maybe, and this card's talking about that are going to make our everyday routine much harder. Okay, so basically they're saying this is not your fault, and you have taken it very well because you could have been, you know, kept in this space here, in this mental space here of the Eight of Swords in reverse. Like these people, what they said about you, about the way you understood teaching and education, could have kept you in this mental imprisonment here that would of course interfere with your classes, with your projects, and even with your studies. You didn't do that. You got out of there. You know that any rejection that you might be receiving is not personal, okay? but still there's something about your self-esteem, and there's something, and it's related to faith, it's related to the ability to create out of the box projects, to believe that even if people are against you, it doesn't mean that your projects have no value, and it doesn't even mean that your projects are not necessary right now in the world. Okay, so there's something about that. You need to review. Well, you need to find a way to regroup in the sense of having faith again in broader projects, in out-of-the-box projects, in whichever innovation you want to implement. Because remember, and I'm even going to show you this image again, remember that as an educator, you are an eternal learner. You are the adventurer. Okay, you're looking for adventure. This is how you see knowledge. So you need to get back to this space. You've done a lot, so you're feeling much better now. You clearly understand that the place you work is limited in the sense of considering material needs, and even for most of you, I see strictly financial needs on top of, you know, and in front as more prioritizing financial needs over educational needs, and making some judgments that are contrary to this idea of education as an adventure. Okay, but even then, you learned how to manage that, and you learned how to use your talents in order to what I see here is a situation like people leave you alone because they know that whatever you're doing in the classroom is working, and you're not trying to change their minds anymore. But this came with a price. You've lost faith. You don't have the same faith as you had when you started in this occupation or in this specific place working for these specific people. Okay, so you need to regroup in order to regain faith, because you are the kind of teacher who really needs to have faith in what they're doing. Okay, and then I have oh my God, confidence is your key to success. See, and it was in reverse. Okay, so there was an impact on your confidence, on the way you see yourself. There's an indication here that it would be important for you to work with your heart chakra and with your third eye chakra, and it's really complementary in the sense of you need to work with your emotions, what this whole process has done with your emotions about teaching, about yourself, about your self-value. And you also need to be open to this kind of intuition we simply hear and we sometimes are afraid to follow. You used to be more open to that. Okay, so what they're saying is there's something you need to do in order to get back to the full potential of your beliefs. Okay, and then I have rebirth in reverse, courage in reverse. Yeah, they're all talking about the same process. Okay, because and then with rebirth, the message here is quite clear. It's something like this is a new round in the game for you as a teacher. You used to be the person who believed that learning was an adventure, and that even as a teacher you always be a learner. Okay, but it's not easy, but it's easier to believe in that when you haven't faced a lot of, a real life challenge or an external challenge like working for an institution like that. Okay, so now it's like your faith has been tested, your sense of mission is being tested, and it's all about you remembering the kind of teacher you always were or you wanted to be once you started on this game. Okay, because you have lost in confidence, you have lost in courage to explore innovative ideas. You're doing a wonderful job. Okay, I want to make this clear because other people in your situation could have just given up altogether, but they're talking about something that you feel in your heart. You have lost faith and you have lost the level of courage you had once you entered this all. And this is very common at this point in the game because now it's like you're facing, or you have just faced, better saying, one of your biggest challenges in the outside world. So this is about a test of faith. It's about still believing that you can work as an adventurer while being a teacher, okay, and do it to the fullest of your potential. Because with this card here, it says flowering, okay, flourishing. It's in Portuguese here, but it says flourishing, and it's all about rebirth. It's all about being able to be the best version of yourself without being scared, and with confidence that whatever you need materially is going to appear, okay? I also have change. So this is a process that's actually going to happen. You're just hearing about it in order to confirm some views that maybe intuitive views that are weakened right now, and you needed to hear about that in order to keep going towards the kind of teacher you want to be. But this is going to change, and this is going to change in your favor when you understand that now some very specific skills you have are already being used. These talents are already being used, and this is why you have gained some leeway with your coordinators or with your direction, with whatever is running the place. When you understand that, you see, okay, it's like you feel the winds of change coming, but there's much more to change, and it all depends on you having faith and the courage to regroup and go back to this initial place here. Believe in yourself. Believe that teaching can really be an adventure, okay? Believe in your teaching mission, okay? And then as a wrap up, I have the Queen of Swords in reverse. I have the Six of Wands in reverse, and I have the Devil in reverse. So this is amazing. Basically what they're saying is there will be a moment in time in which you will be able to leave this place if you want. It's not going to be soon, probably, but it's just a message of hope saying there will be a moment in time in which you'll actually be able to leave this place, okay? This place you're working for right now, that's not really it's not in tune with the kind of teacher you want to be, okay? But just remember that this is also like a lesson to you, okay? A lesson in how to stand your ground and how to choose your fights, how to keep on believing in yourself no matter what, even if the place you're working for or the sacrifice you need to do in terms of what you believe when starting your own project. No matter where you are, you can still be this person, but of course you need to adjust in order to negotiate with the people around you. But take this as a lesson, because I see that in a future that's not so distant. There's something about 6 months here, okay? With the Six of Wands and with the Devil, that 1 + 5 = 6, okay? And with the Queen of Swords in reverse, there's something here about 6 months. In 6 months, you'll be able to make different choices, okay? And maybe to leave your workplace if you want, maybe to start your own business, maybe to shift your business from a more monetizing approach to an approach that's more related to the kind of teacher you want to be. But consider this period of time as a lesson. Even if you start your own business, or if you move to a place in which this view on teaching, when everybody's learning all the time, including teachers, and there's no real hierarchy, maybe even if you move to a place in which this is the belief system, the rationale behind everything that people are doing, you will still need the skills acquired while being in this place you are right now, because sometimes when you go to these places that are more open and that are less traditional, you tend to take a lot of heat, because of that, precisely because of that. This kind of businesses, this kind of alternative schools, etc., they have the hardest time keeping up with the educational system, because not only because of how the market is at a certain point in time, but also because of students' expectations. Students sometimes expect more traditional learning because this is what they have been exposed to and this is what they have seen their whole life. So see this period in a place that's not really, you know, your cup of tea. See this period as gaining muscles, okay, training for the time when a situation you actually want is going to be possible. Okay, for others of you, this is not going to come in 6 months, this possibility of changing jobs, but at least in 6 months you're going to have a new experience, maybe entering masters, a doctor course, or a specialization course, a certificate course of some sort, that's going to help you regain faith in a sense. Okay, at least there you're going to find peers, you're going to find people who can listen to the kind of complaint you have and understand the view of education you have, and this is going to make you, you know, stronger. Okay, so this is all I have for you. Option 1, if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, because it helps the channel very, very much. And I really hope that you can keep up this sometimes difficult game of respecting yourself and respecting the kind of educator you want to be. Okay, so moving on to option number 2. Option number two has chosen, I'm going to show it up right to you, has chosen the 3 of Swords, okay, and was in reverse. Okay, so with the 3 of Swords in reverse here, especially in this card, I'm going to show you the symbolism again. This is in reverse. Okay, so teaching for you is something very, very personal. The traditional representation of this card is a heart with 3 swords, you know, just trespassing it, and it's talking about sorrow, it's talking about pain. So you're the kind of teacher who has taken teaching on as something very personal. You're teaching because you don't want your students to suffer the same things that you have suffered in the past. Okay, there's kind of a vigilante vibe here, in the sense of, I am going to make all of my lesson plans and all of my interactions with students, with the direction, with anyone I want to work with, a way of, you know, preventing people from facing the same kind of challenge. Maybe you've even been bullied at school or something like that. Maybe the way you understood the interaction between teachers and students was very different from what your teachers and your colleagues proposed when you were studying. But whatever happened to you, you have decided that you wanted to become a teacher in order to make things different for the next generation. Okay, you didn't want the next generation to feel and to experience whatever you had experienced. Okay, so teaching for you is something very personal. It's a personal mission. It's what makes you feel, it's also what's justify what's happened to you, in a sense. It's like, okay, maybe you've been bullied, maybe you've been you know, you were always the kind of student who took lower grades, and teachers could never understand, so they called you stupid. They couldn't understand your potential, and they couldn't understand that actually the tasks were not adapting to your learning style. Whatever happened to you, now you want to make it different. So in a sense, this is not only an occupation for you. This is something that justifies whatever kind of abuse you have suffered in the past while, you know, in the educational system, the schooling process, etc. So let's see what the tarot is going to tell us about that. Yeah, this makes you a teacher who has clear lesson plans, who has clear statements of value, and who doesn't like people who only promise that they're going to do and do nothing in a practical sense. You hate those people who'd say, sorry, I'm a constructivist teacher, I'm working with this and this theories, I really believe in, you know, any kind of new method, new way of approaching the classroom, when in reality they are not implementing anything that they're actually defending discursively. Okay, so you don't like people who say, I believe in this kind of method, technique, approach, but in reality, when you watch their classes or when you hear them comment on experiences they had with the students, in practice they're actually doing the opposite of what they say. They're not walking their talk. And this is especially hurtful to you because this is part of what led you to have such a difficult experience during your own schooling process, during your own time as a student in the schooling system. Okay, so I see that for some time you wanted to, you were kind of, I heard this vigilante vibe, but you were kind of too harsh whenever communicating that what you saw as hypocrisy. Like, you say that you believe in constructivism, but when you enter the classroom, you do something completely different. Okay, so you would call out on these people, or at least you would get really angry, and this would take a lot of your energy. And now you are trying to let this approach go because you have recognized that that since you've started teaching because you wanted to prove something to other people and to yourself, in this case, prove to other people and to yourself that the schooling system could actually be different, that teachers could actually help students in a way that you've never been helped. After a certain time, you've realized that that part of what you were doing in the classroom while adopting this approach was also preventing you from growing as a human being. It's kind of this became your mission, and you were a little too hyper focused on that. So you lost in other areas of your life, and you started feeling a little too tense. There was some kind of change represented by death here in reverse that you were trying to avoid, but this is something that you already know. Okay, it's like, because your teaching became such a personal mission, which is actually very beautiful, and if more people did that, we would have excellent teachers and excellent classrooms all over. But because you did that, it's like your past was always with you, because your teaching was a response to personal trauma, to personal sorrow. So it's like you could never just let go of your past, because your teaching was based on such a personal mission. Okay, and now it's time that you did that, and you already know it. Okay, so I have the same card twice. It's hard for you, even if you know that you have to change your perspective, at least in a way, not in a way of you know, you want to be coherent, you want to say that you're following a certain method and actually follow this method. You don't want to be hypocritical. You don't want to, you know, be the way your teachers were with you in any way, shape, or form. But what the cards are saying here is that you don't need to be like them, but you actually need to heal this past experience. Otherwise, teaching will always be something that hurts you deep inside, because whenever you're acting as a missionary, you're bringing your past back. I hope I'm making myself clear. But it's very hard for you to let go of this past. And with the Fool in reverse and the Sun in reverse, I see that it would be one of the paths you have of leaving this behind and adopting a more carefree attitude, in the sense of being less tense, not in the sense of not doing your job or not loving your job or not understanding your mission, but in the sense of letting this past go, of not attaching whatever hurt you while you were a student to your present activity, one of the ways you would have to do that is, first of all, you need to plan very carefully what you would like to bring to the classroom that's actually more related to your own amazement, to your own take on knowledge. Because there are some attitudes that you have in the classroom meant to put you in a position of, see, I am not like my past teachers, okay? Like, I am not like the teachers I had. Well, some of these attitudes, tasks that you plan, things that you do, they are not things that you like. They are not your true essence. They are not based on your truer talents, okay? I'm going to give you an example because this is something that I'm finding very hard to explain. It's deep, okay? Your reading is very deep, option 2. But it's like, for example, let's say that your teachers did not go through all of the subjects required by the SAT. And this made your life very difficult. And you know that they didn't do that because they didn't believe in the kind of student they had in class. They didn't want to do their work. This is how you feel. It's just they didn't want to do their job, okay? So because they were unwilling to do their job, you then faced immense hardship, okay? And this is something that you do not want to do with your students. You want to make sure that they're going to have access to all kinds of different knowledge. You want to make sure that they are going to have access to everything that is required. So if there's this long list, you want to work with all of these subjects in detail, and you also want to make it personal to each of your students. This is a beautiful endeavor, okay? The thing is, the way you're bringing all of these subjects is not coherent to the way you understand knowledge in itself. For example, you don't understand knowledge as something that can be as calculated as that. Like, we are going to go through this whole list of contents, and because I've done I don't know how many tasks or exercises, everybody's going to get a better shot at their SATs, okay? And this is only an example. Make it fit your situation. I don't know where you're working right now, but the problem seems to be that you don't believe in the approach that you're adopting while you're trying not to do the same thing your teachers did to you, okay? Some of the things that you have to do in order to prove to yourself that you're a better teacher than they were are not aligned with your true beliefs, okay? Are not aligned with the best version of yourself. The Sun card is talking about our essence, happiness, joy. So maybe this is in reverse here. So maybe there is a better way of even presenting all of the contents that are meant to be presented for the SAT, or maybe even not presenting all of the contents, but working deeper with a few of them that you know to be crucial without having a whip on your back all the time saying, okay, I didn't work with all the content, so I'm just like my teachers, okay? And please remember that this is only an example, because I don't know what you've suffered on the hands of your teachers, so I really don't know if it was about subjects, if it was about teaching too much, teaching too little, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, whatever these teachers have done to you that you felt as something so personal, and now you're trying to compensate for while you teach, while you try to compensate, you're doing some things that are not aligned with your true beliefs and not even with your talents. Maybe if you thought about a different strategy, things could run smoother, okay? And yeah, exactly. I have the schizophrenia card, experiencing and control. So what I see here is that you need to give up on trying to bridge all the gaps for your students, because maybe since you had such a difficult experience, now you're acting from a viewpoint that's too motherly, okay? And you consider that nurturing them would be like solving all the problems for them, solving all the problems that may not even be their problems, but the problems that you saw in the educational system you experienced as a student, okay? And you need to remember that learning is about experiencing. And experience is not only about experiencing everything that's good in life, or, you know, experiencing working with tasks that you bring them that are always going to make them happy and joyful, but experiencing is also about experiencing hardship, experiencing trying to solve a problem by themselves, talking about your students, okay? So I see you as this kind of teacher that wants to make the experience of students first and foremost comfortable. And sometimes we don't learn while comfortable. We need to get out of our comfort zone in order to learn, okay? But you're taking the task on your hand of solving all of the problems for them, and this is related to your past, to whatever you experienced with your own teacher. So cards are saying, please don't try to bridge too many gaps for your students. Remember that they also have to experience some hardship. I know that the hardship you have experienced maybe has traumatized you or generated this kind of sorrow, but remember that your students are different people and they need to experience things for themselves. I also have meditation and contemplation in reverse, and take time to breathe out in reverse. So okay, let me get the chakra card. It's wisdom in reverse. Okay, yeah. So with this meditate and contemplate in reverse, know that this is not a problem that you're going to solve in your mind, because I see that for some of you, you try to make the best better plan, best better planet. So oh my god, remember that we're during Mercury retrograde season, so I'm committing lots of mistakes here. Mercury retrograde is going to it's going to turn, I think, on the 12th, so maybe the videos are going to be more straight to the point. But the thing is, I see that you here, this is not something that you're going to solve on your mind alone, okay? Remember that, because for this group, what I see is lots of people who try to be very, you try to plan everything carefully, you try to have everything under control when it comes to the premises, you know, everything that you do in class, everything that it has to be planned. The lesson plan needs to be organized, even if it's only in your head, and you need to have control over it to know that you're being coherent with your beliefs. And what they're saying is, this is not going to be solved on your mind. This is not all about planning. Planning is something that you already know how to do, but what you need to do right now is to be closer to the present situation in the classroom, to be closer to your students for each of the classes, in order to understand how to be more flexible, okay? This reading is not talking about changing your beliefs or changing everything that you're doing in class. It's only talking about being able to notice and to be more flexible whenever a student needs some kind of task adaptation, even if this adaptation is contrary to the image you want to protect of yourself, okay? Coming back to the example I gave before, if your teachers didn't prepare you enough for the SATs, and now you're trying to make sure that all of your students are actually prepared for the SATs, remember that some students in class, this would be the case of remembering that some students in class, maybe they learn better at home. So it's not about giving all of the content superficially in class, but it's about working with what they are already, you know, having difficulty developing, but on their own, something like that. Okay, if you think that, I don't know, you could even have been a student in a constructivist school and you didn't like it at all because you think it didn't prepare you for the real world. So if this is the case, you could, for example, start understanding that some of your students would actually have better results, feel better if they were shown or had the opportunity of do some tasks, some of the classes, challenges under a constructivist approach, something like that. Okay, so it's about flexibilizing whatever you're doing. Understand that some students could need different versions of your own tasks, and that is okay, even if it's similar to what you have experienced before. This is going to work out in a completely different way because they're different people. Okay, it's about that. And then to wrap up, I have some tarot cards here, lots of tarot cards for you. Okay, each reading is a completely different thing. Okay, so little story going on for you here, and final pieces of advice. Let me do that so that you can see the cards properly. Okay. Remember that whenever you feel good in class, you normally, when you feel good in class, but not feeling good because you're, you know, tense about proving others that you can actually be a more effective teacher than your teachers were in the past. It's not about that. But when you actually feel good, you know, when you have that feeling, oh, this student has actually learned something in this process here that we're dealing with. You know, the kind of innocent joy in which, okay, this is the miracle of learning. Whenever you experience that, notice what are the characteristics of the task going on. You probably notice that you feel better and students learn more without an intense need of control. Whenever they are freer to experiment on their own, because I see you here, you guys here, as this Knight of Cups. Okay, it's something like you're always offering your attention, you're always offering the best of you. This doesn't have to be love, it's cups, I know, but it's like you offer them your affection through being all the time with them and telling how they need to behave and how things need to be done. I don't think like you're controlling. It's about a certain level of control, but it's not that. I don't see you as the kind of teacher who's smothering the students. It's not like that, but it's just that sometimes you need to leave the scene, okay, in order to allow your students to have their own understandings on different views of the world, different views on how things could be. This is important for their learning processes too, okay? The tower moments, if you understand anything about tarot, if you also do tarot, the tower moments, they are moments of huge learning, okay? So it's about letting your students have their tower moments in which things are not going to make sense, things are not going to be traditional, the world's upside down, but they are still going to learn a lot in those moments, because this is how you learned. If you considered how you came across this mission of being, you know, the teachers that's going to be different from all of the teachers you had, you entered this era through pain, okay? So it's very important that you understand that not pain, I'm not defending that, but what the cards are saying is that sometimes when it's too easy, or when you have someone that's always coaching and coaching almost in the sense of micromanaging, learning becomes a little bit less enthusiastic and less deep than it could be. Okay, a little bit too shallow. So consider that as a final message. Again, we have a cups card in reverse. So this is about not, if you say everything, if you explain everything to your students, and if you kind of give the answers instead of trying to elicit the answers or to work with problem solving, try to be a little bit more open to a problem solving approach, to proposing challenges to your students, to, you know, try, I don't know, I was an English teacher, and we used to say that in order to learn a language, you need to, it's very important that you don't give the answers to your students. They need to, you can elicit the answers and this will help, but not necessarily giving the answers all the time, because pure repetition is never going to work. So it just came to my mind. I don't know which subject you're working with, but it's about not making things easy in a sense, well, easy in a way in which students maybe are not even going to feel challenged. Okay, because in the end, I see if you do that, you will shift your mentality on the way teaching could go for you. You will become a very successful teacher. I think that most of you already are, but you feel kind of tense about having to cope with this image you've created for yourself. It's too much to put on your back. I need to be different from all of the teachers I had, and that made me suffer. Okay, and what they're saying here is that it doesn't need to be like that. You can be much more relaxed, and you can give more space to your students to face their own challenges. You don't need to be perfect, and you don't need to just have as the highest level of accomplishment in your mind being different from the teachers you had. Okay, this needs to stop being your standard of success in a sense, because it's blocking you. And remember, most of all, whenever you do this, whenever you act out of this, you go back to your past and to this sorrow here. Okay, to these people backstabbing you, because this is how you feel the teachers you have, like they backstabbed me, they betrayed me, the way they acted, because they didn't want to work, they didn't want to do their job, or they didn't do their job properly, even if they wanted to. It was painful for me, because it was hard for me to move on with the kind of knowledge, the kind of educational basis I had. Okay, so just remember that if you bring all of this sorrow to the present and to your students, you always be returning to your past, and this sorrow will always be with you. So there's a way of transmuting all of these energies as you experiment with giving more space to your students to face their challenges. Okay, wow. This was a really deep message, and I hope it has helped you, made sense to you. I really like to hear about that in the comment section. But that's it. Thank you very much. And if you like this video, please leave a like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, because it helps the channel like you would not believe. Thank you very much. Now I'm moving on to option number 3. And if you've chosen option number 3 with this Everyday Witch deck, okay, then, okay, I see that you are a teacher who likes to make connections between very different people. You could work at different places, and you like each place for their own characteristics. You could work with different subjects, even for some of you. So you're working Portuguese and English, you're working, I'm talking about the Brazilian reality, of course, but you're working with, you know, English and Spanish, or maybe you're teaching completely different things, because these options here are completely different. Okay, so you have your place in a community school, but you're also working for the government, and you're teaching all sort of things. But in a sense, when I think about your style, it's like you try to bring life to the classroom, real life to the classroom, by making connections among many different things, because you understand that if you want to really prepare your students for the world, you need to insert them in situations in which the level of complexity is actually high. Because in life, it's not like, okay, we are going to calculate, we're going to stop here and calculate just 2 + 2. It's like we're calculating, but we're always also negotiating while buying. And then you have the English skills, and you have the mathematics skills all together, and you're also maybe drawing, because you need to, explain to someone the dimensions of what you want to buy, and many skills are being used at the same time. So you understand that in the classroom, things are more productive, work better, etc. when you're making connections between many different things. This is your style, and you really want to prepare your students to make their own choices, because this card is also talking about choices, okay? And you understand that they're only going to be prepared to make their own choices if they practice with complex environments. So you're all about, could even be studying complexity theory, okay? Problem-based methodologies, approaches to learning. You could be working with Vygotsky. You could be working with all of these new people that talk about technology, connectivism. But in general, even if you're not into those specific areas or methodologies, you are a person who likes to make connections between things, not only because it's easy for you to do them, but mostly because you see that learning would be more effective for your students if they were into complex decision making, especially decision making activities and tasks in the classroom. That's how real life works, and this is the kind of lesson plan you want to bring to them. Okay, so very practical approach and very efficient, as I see here. Your tarot cards are going to talk to me about your context right now. So I see that you need to decide, and I have decision in both of these cards here, the Two of Wands and the Two of Pentacles. You need to make a decision right now involving money, probably, okay? Or at least involving stability, okay, for some of you. But I see that for most of you, this is a decision involving money. You're thinking about because some of you could be working at multiple places at the same time, then now you need to make a decision, like to cut one of these places and fully dedicate to the other, but maybe you're going to lose some money over it and you're not sure about how to do that. Or maybe you're just starting your career and you have two different possibilities of work, and you don't know which is best, because one is paying less but it's more aligned to what you believe education should be, and the other pays more but it's less aligned, something like that. And I see that it's very hard for you to make this decision, because because you're the kind of person that really connects everything to everything, like I was saying here, okay? And you believe in complex situations. So I see that it's very hard to organize your mind, to wrap your mind around this decision and to actually make a decision, because you're always considering the pros and cons, and you're always considering I see you as this person who has a lot going on their minds right now, because it is hard for you to make a decision, okay? Maybe some of you are Libras, Aquarius. I'm just calling the signs because they're related to the cards and to the situation, but there's certainly a decision that you have to make right now related to your occupation. I see here that you're not listening to your intuition, because there's something trying to come through about which place to go, and because you're not listening to your intuition right now, you're kind of counting on luck, okay? That some sign is going to show, or maybe this situation will resolve by itself. You're kind of hoping a little bit that you're going to be pushed into the right direction, but Spirit is actually trying to push you to the right direction. This message could be coming in dreams for some of you. It could be hearing things from an outer world, okay, from Spirit. They're trying to send you messages, but since this decision is very hard for you, then you're kind of counting on luck, like, oh no, things are going to be solved by themselves. I am going to, in the end, maybe one of, if there are two schools, for example, maybe one of the schools is going to withdraw from the competition and let things flow, live and let live, because when it has to be decided, it's going to be decided. And what the cards are saying here is that that's not true. You need to decide. It's like you already know what's best for you, but you're afraid. And I think that for most of you, you're afraid because of the financial impacts of your decision, okay? But you don't need to be afraid. What you need to do is choose with your heart. Choose whatever you feel is more aligned to the version of teacher you want to be in your life, because there's kind of a context here in which it's like you're even afraid of choosing your own version of paradise. Like one of these choices is your own version of paradise because you're worried about money. But I see that things are going to be renewed. Oh my God. And then I have this card over here. Renewal. I still get surprised, amazed when that happens. I was saying things are going to be renewed. I'm not seeing the cards, and then I have this card here, renewal. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, there's kind of a promise here that things are going to be renewed if you choose with your heart, if you choose the option that you already know is the best for you. And it might be coming for you in dreams, like, okay, go for it. You can go to the school, to the group of people, to maybe you want to start your own business. You can do it. You can do it. Just believe in it, because things are going to be renewed. But first you have to make a choice, okay? And this choice needs to be yours. We are not going to take... Sorry, you guys, I got cut here, but we were talking about your decision. You have a decision to make, and it probably has financial impact. But with this renewal card here, I was thinking about while I was waiting for the battery to recharge here, that I don't know if you know that scene in the Matrix. I don't know if it's the second or the third Matrix in the series, and people are saying, the Oracle is saying to Neo or to Trinity, there's a decision, there are some decisions in life you can see past them, because you really need to take the decision on your own. Otherwise it would like prevent the test of faith that's going on. And this is what I see going on for you here. You really need to make your decision with your heart, because once you decide, you're going to be renewed. And with this color here, it's talking about the root chakra. So I feel like, because you're used to dealing with so many options, both in terms of the kind of subject you teach and in terms of your actual jobs or your actual ways of facing work groups, okay? You could be involved in multiple work groups with multiple interests, so it's always a multiple thing with you, okay? It's always a complex thing with you, because you like complexity. But it also means that you're a person who is too much in your head all the time, and you really think like, it's hard for you to see the difference between the connections that you can actually establish on your mind and the grounding work you need sometimes in order to consider what would be more beneficial for your body. So when it comes to this decision, it's like you can't see the impact of choosing against your heart right now, because when you turn it all into abstract thought, okay, abstract thinking, you say, okay, but there are actually there are actually very, very important consequences of this action that I need to consider. If this school, for example, is paying more, then I would actually maybe benefit going there, because I could do whatever I like doing in terms of study and experimentation with this money. But you're not actually being able to consider how much it would cost you mentally and emotionally to go to this school. This is what I'm talking about, okay? Your decision now needs to be grounded on your heart, needs to be grounded on your body, and the connection between your body and your mind is your heart, is your feelings, okay? Try to assess more carefully how you feel about these options, because I also have the complacency card here followed by discovery, and all of these cards are related to the root chakra. So all of these cards are talking about a need of finding balance in your own body and finding balance in whatever roots you to the earth, okay? And of course, talking about your own roots. But in your case here, I see that roots in terms of beliefs, of whatever you feel comfortable doing. But in your case here, I think they're talking about rooting in your actual body. I think that your decisions are most of the time based on this complex abstract concepts you deal with and you're used to deal with because of your occupation. But now you need to consider the experience of going through work in each of these options, okay? You need to try to preview how you would feel in each of these options and decide more with your heart than with your mind, because you're used to being on your mind all the time, a lot, and this is not going to lead you to the right choice, so to speak. If it's like, if you listen to your heart, then you would clearly understand how it would be to choose each of these schools, each of these possible jobs. I mean, it could even be a decision like working less so that you can study more. And what they're saying is that if you assess this choice, listening to your heart and imagining how you would feel in each of these situations, it would be an easier choice for you to make, okay? So I also have here conditioning, the miser, and silence from Osho and tarot. So yeah, exactly that. You need to meditate on this subject, but it's not about pros and cons. It's not about a logical standpoint. You just need some time to assess how you'd feel in each of these possibilities, okay? Because I think that for most of you, you're choosing between two different jobs, and it's the scenario I've already explained. Like, one pays more, but you really don't know if you would align there, and if you would feel good there, if it would fulfill you and the kind of teacher you want to be. And the other job, it's like pays less, but it seems to be more aligned to you. But it could be any two options related to your career, to your occupation. And it's almost like, because you've been conditioned to approach money from a lack perspective. Like, we should always think about the future cautiously, and we should really take no chance when it comes to money. It's like you're not allowing what you already know about these two options, okay? Your heart already knows where it should be going, but you need to take a leap of faith at this moment, because renewal will only come once you realize that you should have chosen with your heart from the start. Okay, after you've seen, it's the decision you can't see beyond, that the Matrix was talking about. You need to first decide, and then things will make sense, and then it will become clearer to you why you couldn't go to the option that was, that looked better on paper. This is what I see, because I see that in this case, your mental acuity is something amazing. You really know what's best for you, and you know how to decide. But in this case, it's based on fear. Your nervousness whenever you think about this decision you have to make is based on fear, and it's based on conditioning. It's based on a mindset you have established around money that needs to be challenged right now. So this is a test in faith, and it's a leap of faith that you need to give in order to decide, okay? And then I have a new romantic cycle begins. Libra energy is all about aesthetics. It's all about beauty in life and creating the beauty you want to create. So I think that you're going to learn, after you take the decision, choosing with your heart, you're going to learn that there's no cost. I mean, that nothing could ever pay for your peace of mind, and that your peace of mind comes with knowing that you're constructing something beautiful, that you're making all of these beautiful connections you like to make when you think about teaching and learning. You're going to be able, after you make this decision, to better assess risk, because you will in decisions, okay, because you will not only consider decisions from a practical standpoint and thinking about saving money or about being protective financially, but you'll actually be able to evaluate the emotional, mental costs some decisions can have in your life, the kind of impact they can have in your life if you are, you know, disregarding the kind of beauty you want to construct. It's all about that notion that sometimes it's better to live a simpler life, but knowing that the simple life is your life. Okay, so maybe leave complexity to your mind and try to establish a more straightforward approach when it comes to what makes your soul soar and your body be happy, and you know, the kind of experience that you feel is beautiful, and you're bringing beauty to your life, and you're making all of these different connections even if you're not earning that much money. Okay, it's about facing fear, the fear you have of lack in the future also. And I have the Lover's card in reverse, I have the Star card in reverse, and I have the Ace of Swords in reverse. Lots of reversals. So this is talking about fear. What they're saying that you can do in order to overcome this fear is, first of all, remember that your choice is not easy on you, because you're trying to take passion and take what you really love out of the equation. Okay, so once again, you need to decide with your heart. Your heart is the pathway to even your body, your physical health. Okay, so it's the best way to assess your physical health right now, because when you consider it only from a mental place, okay, when you get caught in your mind, you can't really see any kind of physical cost that your decision might have, an emotional cost too. Okay, so your mind's going to tell you. Try to imagine the setting. Okay, let's say it's school A, school B. Try to imagine yourself there, and you clearly know which environment is more welcoming and nurturing to you and the kind of teacher you want to be. Okay, so choosing without considering your passions is what's making you so afraid, together with this conditioning regarding money. Okay, and it's making things worse. It's blocking you even more. And the other thing is, this leap of faith needs to be built on the hope that you don't need to always be always thinking about the next big idea in order to earn money. Okay, to fend for yourself in general. Understand that sometimes, well, even a person who has a 9-to-5 job and a contract and a fixed contract, even this person, you see the witch is coming here to talk to you, even this person is not safe. Okay, they're not safe, because it may seem safer, it may seem advisable, but they're not really safe. They can be they can be dismissed, the company can have problems, that school could have some difficulty paying their wages or something. So nobody's actually safe. So we built this false sense of safety around certain things that seem to be more stable, but the energy of stability can always fail us when we're basing on outside performance of things. Okay, external performance of certain institutions, people, groups of people, whatever. So true stability comes from being stable in what you love, okay? Because if you're doing what you love, I know that sometimes, I'm not saying that we don't need to make decisions in terms of compromising. Of course, we need to compromise from time to time. We will need to say, okay, I'm going to stay in this job. This is not the perfect job, but I'm going to make it work for me because I need the money right now. And we've all been there. But the thing is, right now, this is not your case scenario. You're just scared of something that might happen but has not happened yet. And these cards are saying, like, explaining the kind of teacher you are. Maybe you know the kind of teacher you are, but these cards have started talking about the kind of teacher you are, likes to make connections and likes to prepare students for a true complex world, and be problem-based and solution-based when you think about your activities and tasks. They were talking about all of that so that you could understand that this is your essence, if it resonates with you, and that you need to approach this twofold decision in the same way. This is a complex program, but whenever we have a complex problem to solve, we need to consider our hearts and our intuitions. And you know that you might even work with that with your students, or think about working if you have not yet started, okay? But it's like we need to use all of our skills. We need to use our intuitive and affectionate skills, okay? We need to consider affect when we are, and how things affect us, not only affect as a concept or you know, an energy, but we need to consider how things affect all of the different realms of our lives, and not only pure logic considers it as a complex abstract problem. We need to consider how they're going to impact our bodies and our hearts, okay? So this is what I have for you. Thank you very much for watching, and if you like the video, please do not forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, because it helped me as you would not believe. Thank you very much, and then we'll have a next video. I think the next one I'm going to make is for doctors. So if you know any other professionals interested in a tarot reading, please share this video so they know this new series is coming. Thank you. Bye bye.